of exactly that kind of integration of car branding with culture, and that is the Lexus integration with the Black Panther film. It's one of the best examples of full-on integration that had an enormous impact on the market. Please welcome Ayiko and Larissa.
Good morning.
Hi, everybody. So we're going to get started by showing a reel of the highlights of this campaign, and then we'll come back and dig into the details.
Lexus is making their most thrilling cars ever, but somehow people still see the brand as boring. We needed to change that by doing something truly exciting to connect with a new, younger audience. Like partner with Marvel Studios' groundbreaking Black Panther film 2 years before its debut with a never-been-done-before content-generating experience. We kicked it off by working with Deadpool creator Fabian Nicieza on an 8-part graphic novel, which Lexus launched at their exclusive first-ever Comic-Con concert with the Black Eyed Peas. Social media was lit. Fandom intensified when we had West Coast Customs create a one-of-a-kind Black Panther Lexus just in time for auto show season. And then we sponsored the Black Comic Book Festival. Excitement kept growing as we debuted Wakandan-inspired fashion from 10 up-and-coming designers at New York Fashion Week. Our influencer network spread the word every step of the way, creating anticipation for our next big moment, the launch of the new Lexus flagship on the Super Bowl.
Vibranium secured.
Which was ranked one of the best commercials of the game, was the most watched Lexus commercial ever, and gave us a 1,080% lift in search at prominent auto sites. This unprecedented effort shattered all expectations, with over 56 million organic social media impressions, over 5 billion earned media impressions, and a 269% lift in Lexus LS sales.
Show off.
Proving that when you think beyond product placement and engage culture in an authentic way, the result is anything but boring.
I have to admit, you really did make Lexus cool, at least to me, on that. So can you tell me more about the initial talks with Lexus and their intentions first going into the partnership?
Well, first of all, we start everything out with strategy. So it's a strategy-led conversation. We were lucky enough that Lexus had a brand new coupe coming out, which was the LC500. And as you saw in the video, one of the things we were struggling with is that the brand was not being perceived as a performance brand, and they wanted to make a splash in a big way. So we brought the idea and the partnership to Lexus, and I have to say, the initial conversation was not one of, yes, let's go for it. So we did have to do quite a bit of convincing of the Lexus team to allow us to move this through. I think what really solidified the deal was when we went to Marvel and actually met with Ryan Coogler and Nate Moore, and actually showed them the vehicles. They were very open to the conversation about really integrating Lexus into the storyline, and the fact that we were there before the script was even written really had a huge impact on how ultimately the program and the partnership would come to life. Without that collaboration and authenticity, we would not have been able to deliver what we were able to deliver. And then when you really look at Black Panther as a character, the city of Wakanda, everything that film was about, which was about excellence, luxury, performance, technology, the synergies between Lexus Black Panther was just too kismet. I mean, it was like a lightning in the bottle. It just kind of lined up so perfectly that everything that Wakanda stood for was the same brand ethos that Lexus stood for. So it was really, I want to say easy, but it wasn't like we had to fit a square peg into a round hole. There were very specific touch points that we can connect back to the film.
I didn't realize that you guys got involved even before the script was written.
Yeah, it was a really exciting meeting. You know, we brought the cars out there, and then, you know, Mary Jane Kroll from Lexus actually talks about this. I wasn't at that particular meeting, but they had brought the cars out there, and it was a prototype. It was the only prototype that we had in the U.S. And Ryan said, can I stand on top of the car? And MJ was like, Yeah, I guess so. And so we have an iconic photo of Ryan Coogler standing on top of the only prototype that we had in the U.S. in the same stance that ultimately ended up in the film.
So was there one part of the campaign that stood out for you above the others?
I have to say, the thing that stood out for me above all the others is that, first of all, this was a general market film. Marvel did not marginalize this particular film because it had black actors and it had a black cast and it was a very, very black storyline. They didn't marginalize it to be a black film. So it was a general market initiative that we then grounded in authenticity with the black consumer. So I have to say, the fact that Lexus allowed me to partner with the Black Comic Book Festival and how important this particular character is to blacks in comics. It was the first, it was in 1960, I believe 1963. I think that's the part of it that stood out. And when I went to that particular panel where they were discussing the role of the Black Panther in graphic novels, it enlightened me to a whole new world. And I was really happy that we were able to connect the car and Lexus very specifically to culture. And then, you know, just by happenstance, we found out that Lexus was included in the Black Panther comic book in 1989. Now, granted, it wasn't an actual Lexus. I think it was a Ford that they put a Lexus logo on it. But still, we have been included in a part of the Black Panther story for quite a while.
And I think it's important to note that, you know, the widespread thought was that this wasn't really going to be that successful and that might maybe be a niche or even maybe be the first Marvel failure. So the fact that it exceeded expectations, I think, is something.
Well, I would have to differ with you on that because if you were on Facebook, on social media, if you were part of any pop culture moment, every single time they announced anything about this Black Panther film, when they announced that it was being made, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram just went crazy. It was also around the same time that Luke Cage second season was coming out that broke Netflix. So the hunger for this character to be brought to life was there, and we were confident, at least us inside Walton Isaacson, were very confident that this film was going to be big, and we had the support of another Marvel fan and comic book fan inside the Lexus family, which was Mary Jane. I mean, she knew the stories before most of us did. So with that, we went into this with the anticipation that the film or other Marvel films, but we had no idea what the script was. We hadn't read the story. So we're all sitting at the premiere and we're like, I hope this is good, I hope this is good, I hope this is good. And, you know, as we were sitting there at the premiere of the film, you know, as minutes ticked by and, you know, there were, oh my God, this is a good movie. Oh my goodness, this is great. And then when we really, really started to pay attention to the film, there were so many moments in the film that actually connected back to Lexus ideology. So there's Kaizen, which is the notion of constant improving. That was right there. Shuri said it. And so there were several of those moments that just kind of, you know, was the solidification that what we did was
This one is not something most marketers, even automakers, can do. So what did that impact in terms of coming up with the expectations and challenges?
Well, I think, you know, when we went into the film, it was about a product placement. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that we had all of this kind of planned out. But as we started to, you know, as I said before, we signed on to the film before the script was even written. It was 2 years out. Once we got into the year that the film was actually going to be coming out, we put together a plan for our entire year in terms of what we're going to do and what we're going to deliver. And when we were putting together our plan, our client, Mariko Kusamoto, said, why don't you guys make Black Panther your big idea? As opposed to just putting it on the side and that's a film integration. And so we took that to heart. So we started to look for different touch points that touched different consumers along the way. So Comic-Con, the announcement of the partnership, was really about connecting to that core comic book fan. And then we created the graphic novel that every superhero has a backstory. So our graphic novel was the Elsie's backstory on why it was going to be in that space at that time for Black Panther to basically use it to catch the bad guy. So we wanted it to have a purpose. It just didn't happen to be there. It was purposely there. It was supposed to be there. So we created that graphic novel. And then from there, we're like, what if we do a custom car? And, we put ideas on the table. Not all of them got moved forward, but when we grounded in strategy, and we grounded it very specifically in whoever the target consumer was, we were able to kind of move it forward. So we got comic book fans, we got car enthusiasts, we got the Black consumer, we got Fashion Week. So it just continued to kind of go there. We were touching and making sure that Lexus was a part of the Black Panther story, and that we were connected so completely from the very beginning.
And so how important was social media in terms of reaching out with this campaign?
Social media was hugely important because, once again, we weren't buying media early on. So for the comic book festival, we had social influencers that basically told the story of what we did at the comic book festival. We had a through line of 4 social medias that we used through the entire campaign that did Comic-Con, that went to SEMA, that also went to New York Fashion Week, and then was also part of the Black Comic Book Festival. So we continued to seed the marketplace with information that Lexus was very connected and a part of the Marvel Black Panther film.
And what are key takeaways for all brands, seeking movie-type campaigns?
Well, I think that the core takeaways are, one, there has to be authenticity. There has to be authenticity in the story. The car can't just be there placed in a